Hello, and welcome to this Divine Slumber Bible bedtime story. Tonight, as the world slowly quiets and the last echoes of the day begin to fade into the distance, I invite you to settle gently into this moment. Feel the surface beneath you, steady, supportive, unchanging. Let your body grow heavier, just a little more with each breath, as though the night itself is wrapping you in a calm, quiet embrace. Perhaps your mind has been busy, carrying thoughts that refuse to rest, questions that circle without answers, memories that linger longer than you expected. But here, you do not need to solve anything. You do not need to hold everything together. This is a place to release, a place to soften, a place to simply be. So take a slow, deep breath in and hold it gently for a moment. Then exhale, letting go of tension you didn't even realize you were carrying. Again, breathe in, calm and steady. Oh, 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 oh. And breathe out, allowing your thoughts to drift like clouds across a quiet sky. You are safe here. You are held. You are not alone. Tonight, we step into a story that does not rush, a story that moves like a whisper through the pages of Scripture, quiet, mysterious, and deeply profound. It is not a story filled with noise or urgency, but one that invites stillness, invites reflection, invites rest. It is the story of a man who appears without warning, without origin, without explanation. A man who stands before one of the greatest figures in the Bible, and yet carries a presence so powerful, so quietly authoritative, that even Abraham himself pauses, listens, and bows in recognition. His name is Melchizedek, and though his story is brief, only a few moments in the vast unfolding of Scripture, his presence lingers like a soft echo through time. He is remembered not for what is explained, but for what is left unsaid. Not for the details we are given, but for the mystery we are invited to enter. Because sometimes the deepest peace does not come from knowing everything, but from trusting the one who does. So as you continue to breathe slowly, gently, allow this story to carry you, not toward answers, but toward stillness. Let your thoughts loosen their grip. Let your heart grow quiet, and let the gentle rhythm of this moment guide you into rest. If you find yourself drawn into this calm, into this quiet space of reflection, you are welcome to return here again, to rest, to listen, to simply be. To listen. And now, as your breathing becomes softer, your body more at ease, and your mind begins to settle into silence, we begin. In this very moment, open your heart and receive the peace that is coming. I invite you now to gently settle into a position that feels natural, unforced, and completely at ease. Perhaps you adjust your pillow just slightly, allowing it to cradle your head more comfortably. Perhaps you pull your blanket a little closer, feeling its quiet warmth resting over you like a soft shield against the outside world. And if there is light around you, you might choose to dim it or simply let your eyes grow heavier until the world begins to soften at the edges. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go. Nothing left to accomplish. This moment is enough. Now, bring your awareness to your breath, not to control it, but simply to notice it. The gentle rise and fall, the quiet rhythm that has carried you through every moment of your life without asking anything in return. Take a slow breath in, through your nose. Feel your chest expand, your lungs filling with calm. And then exhale, slowly, completely, as if you are releasing the weight of the entire day. Again, breathe in, deeper this time. Ooh. And hold it for just a moment. Then let it go, gently, effortlessly. With each breath out, feel your body sinking just a little more. Your muscles loosening, your thoughts softening, your spirit unwinding. Let your forehead relax, smoothing out any tension you may have been holding there. Let your eyes rest, heavy and still, as though they are floating in calm, dark water. Allow your jaw to unclench, your tongue to rest gently, without effort. Your neck softens, your shoulders drop, releasing burdens you no longer need to carry into this night. Breathe slowly now. Feel the calm spreading down through your arms, flowing into your elbows, your wrists, your hands, all the way to your fingertips, warm, relaxed, still. Your chest rises and falls in a steady rhythm, your heart beating quietly, faithfully. A gentle reminder that even in rest, you are sustained. Let that rhythm comfort you. Now, allow this sense of ease to move into your back, every muscle unwinding, every point of tension dissolving, as though you are being gently supported, completely held, without effort. Your stomach softens. No need to hold anything in. No need to brace. No need to carry. Breathe in peace, and breathe out everything else. Let your hips grow heavy, sinking deeper into rest. Your legs relaxing. Your knees loosening. Leg, may. Your calves soft. Your feet resting, completely at ease. Your whole body now, still, quiet, supported. And as your body rests, your mind can begin to follow. Thoughts may still drift in, and that is okay. You do not need to push them away. Simply let them pass, like leaves floating on a slow, quiet stream. You are not required to hold on to them. You are safe to let go. God is watching over you, in the stillness, in the silence, in this gentle unfolding of rest. You are safe. You are held. You are not alone. Breathe slowly now. With each breath, imagine a soft, quiet darkness surrounding you. Not empty, but peaceful, like velvet night, stretching endlessly above you, filled with calm, filled with presence. There is no fear here, only rest. Let that image settle. Feel yourself drifting, just slightly, as though you are floating on calm waters, carried without effort, without resistance, without need to control where you go. There is a quiet trust here, a gentle surrender, a knowing that you are being guided, even in stillness. Rest here for a moment. If your thoughts begin to wander again, gently return to your breath. That steady, faithful rhythm, breathing in peace, breathing out tension. There is nothing you need to understand right now, nothing you need to fix, nothing you need to prepare for. This moment is a gift. And in this quiet space, as your body rests and your mind grows still, your heart can begin to open, slowly, gently, without force. Because even here, in the silence, God is near, closer than your breath, steadier than your thoughts, more constant than anything you have carried through the day. Let that truth settle deep within you. You are not alone in this night. You are being watched over, held in quiet care, surrounded by a peace that does not rush, does not demand, but simply remains. Breathe slowly now, and as your body continues to rest, and your mind drifts deeper into calm, allow yourself to fully enter this stillness, this gentle, sacred pause, where everything slows, everything softens, and everything is held, exactly as it is. Now, as your body remains still, and your breath continues its slow, steady rhythm, allow your mind to drift gently into the landscape of an ancient world, a world far removed from the quiet of this moment, yet one that will unfold slowly, softly, like a distant memory carried on. The night air. Breathe slowly now. Imagine a land, stretching wide, beneath an endless sky, the earth dry and rugged, marked by hills and valleys that have witnessed generations rise and fall. The wind moves across the open fields, carrying with it the faint scent of dust and stone, whispering through places where men have built their lives and their battles. This is the land of Canaan, long before cities grew large and stable, long before peace found a lasting home. In this time, the world is not ordered by harmony, but by power. Not guided by unity, but by ambition. Small kingdoms are scattered across the land, each one surrounded by walls of stone, each one ruled by a king who guards his territory with watchful eyes. These are not kings of peace, but kings of survival. Their strength is measured not by wisdom, but by the armies they command, the alliances they forge, and the battles they win. And so, the land breathes with tension. Beneath the surface of daily life, there is always movement, always uncertainty. Agreements are fragile, shifting like sand beneath restless feet. A friend today may become an enemy tomorrow. Trust is rare and often short-lived. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, picture the distant echo of marching feet. Not hurried, but inevitable. Because in this world, war is never far away. Kings rise against kings, not always for justice, but for control, for dominance, for the desire to claim what belongs to another. Armies gather beneath banners, their presence darkening the horizon, their approach stirring unease long before they arrive. Villages fall silent as they sense the coming storm. Fields are left untended, homes abandoned, as people retreat, hoping to escape what cannot always be avoided. And yet, life continues. In the midst of this fragile world, there are those who do not belong to its systems of power. Among them, a man named Abram, later called Abraham, not a king, not a ruler of cities, but a traveler. A sojourner, one who lives not behind walls of stone, but beneath open skies. He moves with his household, his flocks, his tents, guided not by conquest, but by a promise. A promise given by God. He walks through lands that are not his own, surrounded by people who do not share his covenant, his faith, or his understanding of the one he serves. And yet, he remains steady, quietly, faithful, even in a world that does not reflect the peace he carries within. Breathe slowly now. There is a contrast here, gentle but profound. While kings build their strength on control, Abram builds his life on trust. While nations prepare for war, he listens for the voice of God. And still, even in his quiet path, he cannot remain untouched by the world around him. Because tension, when left to grow, eventually breaks. And one day, it does. A great conflict begins to rise across the land. Not a small skirmish, not a passing dispute, but a war that gathers strength like a storm forming in the distance. Kingdoms that once paid tribute begin to resist, alliances fracture, and those who once ruled with ease now face rebellion. From the east, powerful kings assemble their forces, moving with purpose, with discipline, with overwhelming strength. Their campaign is not brief, not uncertain, but relentless. One by one, they move through the land, defeating nations, subduing resistance, leaving behind the quiet aftermath of conquest. All right, our grain, 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 today, our grain, today, our grain, you can div, our grain, day, our grain, two, our grain, day. The ground itself seems to carry the memory of their passing. Breathe in, slowly, and as you exhale, feel the weight of that movement, not as fear, but as a distant echo, something far away from where you rest now. Because you are safe here, you are only observing, only listening, as the story unfolds. The kings of the Jordan Plain, rulers of cities like Sodom and Gomorrah, find themselves caught in this rising conflict. For years they had lived under the authority of these eastern powers, but now they choose to break free. And rebellion, once begun, cannot easily be undone. War becomes inevitable. Armies gather, strategies are formed, and soon the valley becomes a place of confrontation. But even in this moment, as forces prepare to collide, there is a deeper truth moving beneath the surface. Something unseen, something not defined by swords or strength. Because this is not only a story of human conflict, it is a stage, quietly being set. A stage for something entirely different, something unexpected, something that will not arrive with armies, but with peace. Breathe slowly now. Let that contrast settle gently in your mind. A world filled with striving, about to be interrupted by something greater. Rest here for a moment. Feel the calm of your breath, the stillness of your body, as this ancient world continues to unfold, slowly, softly. Far away, yet carried gently into your awareness. And as the tension of this land reaches its height, as kings prepare for battle, and the noise of conflict begins to rise, something unexpected is about to appear. But for now, simply rest and breathe, and let the story carry you gently forward into peace. Breathe slowly now. As the quiet tension of that ancient land continues to settle into your awareness, the story begins to shift, gently, almost like the turning of a page carried by a soft evening breeze. Far from the fortified cities, far from the stone walls and watchtowers of kings, there is a different kind of life unfolding, a quieter life, a simpler rhythm, one not defined by conquest, but by movement, by trust, by faith. Here, beneath the open sky, we find Abraham. He is not standing on a battlefield, not seated on a throne, not surrounded by armies or banners. Instead, he dwells in tents, moving from place to place, guided by something unseen, something deeper than ambition. He is a man of promise, a man who walks by faith, even when the world around him moves by power. His wealth is not measured in territory, but in flocks, in servants, in the quiet growth of what has been entrusted to him. His life is steady, grounded, separate from the endless striving of kings. And yet, even in this quiet existence, the world has a way of reaching in. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, feel the gentle shift. The moment when peace begins to meet interruption. Because the war that had been rising across the land, the conflict between kings, the clash of alliances, does not remain distant. It draws closer. News travels, carried by weary voices, by those who have seen what has happened, those who have fled the destruction. Stories of cities overtaken, of armies too strong to resist, of people taken, possessions seized, lives disrupted. And among those taken is someone Abraham knows, Lot, his nephew, a part of his family, a piece of his story, now caught in the unfolding chaos of war. Pause here for a moment. Feel the weight of that realization, not as fear, but as a quiet turning point. Because up until now, Abraham has been a man who journeys, a man who waits, a man who trusts. But in this moment, something within him shifts. Not into anger, not into reckless action, but into purpose. Breathe slowly now. There is no long hesitation, no drawn-out deliberation. When Abraham hears that Lot has been taken, he responds, calmly, decisively, with a clarity that comes not from impulse, but from conviction. He gathers those within his household, men who have grown under his care, trained, prepared, not as soldiers of conquest, but as protectors, as those who stand when needed. 318 men, not an army of nations, not a force built for domination, but a small group, bound not by ambition, but by loyalty. And together, they set out into a world of kings, into a conflict far greater than themselves. Breathe in. Slowly, and as you exhale, imagine the quiet determination of that journey. The steady movement through the night, the sound of footsteps over dry earth, the silence between words, each man aware of the weight of what lies ahead. This is not a march for glory. It is not a campaign for power. It is an act of rescue. And yet, what stands before them is no small obstacle. The kings they pursue are not weak, not disorganized, not easily overcome. These are rulers who have already defeated entire regions, who have proven their strength, their strategy, their dominance. By every human measure, this mission should fail. Two. And yet, Abraham continues forward. Not driven by certainty of outcome, but by faithfulness in action. Breathe slowly now. There is something quiet, yet powerful, in this moment. Because Abraham does not become a warrior in the way the world understands it. He does not seek battle for its own sake. He does not build his identity on victory. And yet, when the moment calls for courage, he steps into it, gently, fully, without hesitation. The night becomes his ally. The stillness becomes his cover. Under the veil of darkness, Abraham and his men move with intention, dividing their forces, approaching with strategy, not relying on strength alone, but on wisdom, on timing, on something greater than themselves. And then, the moment comes. Swift, unexpected, decisive. The battle unfolds not as a prolonged clash, but as a sudden turning, a disruption, a scattering of what once seemed unstoppable. The coalition of kings, fresh from victory, is caught off guard, their strength unraveling under the weight of something they did not anticipate. And just like that, what seemed impossible begins to change. Breathe in, gently, and as you exhale, feel the quiet release of tension. The moment where struggle gives way, where resistance fades, because Abraham succeeds, not through overwhelming force, but through something deeper, something unseen, something guided. Lot is freed. The captives are restored. What was taken is recovered. And the man who once walked quietly through the land as a stranger now returns from battle as something the world did not expect. A victor. But pause here. Do not let the word victory carry the noise of pride or the weight of triumph as the world defines it, because this is not the kind of victory that lifts a man above others. It is the kind that reveals something greater. Breathe slowly now. Imagine Abraham returning, not with celebration, not with boasting, but with a quiet awareness, a stillness within him that understands something important. He has done what was needed. He has acted in faith, but the outcome was never his alone. And this is where the story begins to turn again. Because in the fragile space after victory, when the heart is most vulnerable to pride, when the mind is most tempted to claim ownership, something unexpected is about to happen. Someone is about to appear. Not with weapons, not with armies, not with demands, but with something entirely different. Something quiet. Something sacred. Something that will change the meaning of this victory forever. Rest here for a moment. Feel the calm of your breath, the softness of your body. As the story gently prepares to move forward, and as Abraham steps out of the shadow of battle into a moment he could not have anticipated, the night remains still, and something greater draws near. Breathe slowly now. The noise of battle has faded. The clash of kings has passed, and what remains is a quiet, fragile stillness, the kind that settles over the land when something powerful has just ended, and something unknown has yet to begin. Abraham walks forward, not as a wandering shepherd now, but as one who has faced the impossible and returned. Around him, the men who followed him move with tired strength, their task complete, their purpose fulfilled. The captives have been restored, the danger has passed, and the weight of conflict begins to loosen its grip on the air. And yet, something feels different. Not in the land, but in the moment itself. Breathe in. Slowly, because just as Abraham returns from victory, just as the story could settle into celebration, something unexpected happens. Someone appears, not from the distant horizon with marching armies, not with banners or weapons, not with urgency or demand, but quietly, almost as if he has always been there, waiting. His arrival is not announced. There is no warning, no introduction, no explanation. He simply steps into the scene, and everything changes. Pause here. Feel the stillness of that moment. After all the movement, all the conflict, all the noise. This presence enters without effort, without force, yet carries a weight that cannot be ignored. His name is Melchizedek. Breathe slowly now. There is something immediately different about him, something that sets him apart from every other figure in this unfolding story. The kings who came before were defined by power, by territory, by alliance and ambition. Their presence filled the land with tension, their actions shaped by the need to control, to conquer, to dominate. But this man, he carries none of that. No army stands behind him. No threat moves with him. No demand comes from his lips. Instead, he brings something unexpected, something gentle, something sacred. He brings bread and wine. Let that image settle softly in your mind. After a chapter filled with war, after the clash of swords, the taking of lives, the seizing of power, this moment arrives like a quiet breath, a pause in the storm, a shift from striving into stillness. Bread, simple, sustaining, life-giving. Wine, rich, symbolic, a quiet echo of blessing and abundance. This is not the language of war. This is the language of peace. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, feel the contrast, and the deep, gentle contrast between what has been and what now is. Because Melchizedek does not come to claim victory, he does not come to negotiate. He does not come to take anything from Abraham. He comes to give, to offer, to bless. And in that quiet act, the entire atmosphere of the story begins to change. The battlefield fades into the background. The voices of kings grow distant, and what remains is a moment of encounter. A moment that feels almost outside of time. There is no record of where he came from, no mention of his past, no trace of his origin, no lineage, no introduction. He simply is, present, complete, fully formed, a king and a priest at the same time. Breathe slowly now. Let that settle gently within you. Because even without explanation, there is something Abraham recognizes, something deeper than words, deeper than titles, deeper than understanding. He does not question him. He does not hesitate. He does not ask who he is or where he came from. Instead, he receives him. And in that quiet exchange, something profound takes place. Melchizedek speaks, not loudly, not forcefully, but with a calm authority that carries weight beyond the moment. He blesses Abraham, and in that blessing, he shifts the meaning of everything that has just happened. Blessed be Abram, by God Most High. The words move gently, yet powerfully, like a current beneath still water. And blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. Pause here. Let those words settle, because in that single moment, the story is redefined. The victory is no longer about strategy, no longer about strength, no longer about Abraham. It is about God, the unseen hand, the quiet guidance, the source behind everything that has unfolded. Melchizedek does not add to the story. He reveals its true meaning. Breathe slowly now and feel the quiet humility in that moment. Because Abraham, who has just defeated kings, who has done what seemed impossible, now stands not as conqueror, but as one who receives. The warrior becomes the listener. The victor becomes the one being blessed. And without resistance, without hesitation, Abraham accepts it. He understands, not fully, not completely, but deeply enough to respond. And in that response, something even more remarkable happens. But for now, rest in this moment, this quiet encounter, this meeting between two figures, one returning from battle, the other stepping out of mystery, carrying peace into a world of chaos. Breathe in, slowly, and as you exhale, allow the stillness of this scene to settle over you, like a soft night sky stretching endlessly above. Because in this silence, in this unexpected meeting, something eternal has quietly entered the story. And you are here, simply witnessing it, resting within it, held in its calm. Breathe slowly now. Let the stillness of that sacred encounter remain with you, the quiet presence of a man who arrived without warning, who spoke without striving, who carried something deeper than power, something gentler than victory. And now, as the moment continues to unfold, we begin to see not just what he did, but who he is. Melchizedek, a name spoken only briefly, yet filled with meaning that stretches far beyond the surface. In the ancient language from which it comes, his name carries a quiet declaration, one that does not shout, but settles deeply into the soul. King of righteousness. Pause here. Let that phrase rest gently in your mind. Not simply a king who rules, not merely a leader among men, but a king whose very identity is bound to righteousness itself. Not power without restraint, not authority without justice, but a presence defined by what is right, what is whole, what is aligned with the heart of God. In a world where kings rise through strength, where thrones are secured through conquest, this is something entirely different. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, feel the contrast. The kings Abraham had just encountered fought for dominance. Their victories were measured in land, in wealth, in submission. Their authority was enforced, maintained, protected through force. But Melchizedek, he does not take, he does not demand, he does not conquer. He simply is a king whose rule is not built on fear, but on righteousness. Let that image settle. A ruler whose presence brings alignment, not oppression, whose authority restores rather than controls, whose very being reflects something higher, something pure. And yet, his identity does not end there, because the story tells us something more. He is not only the king of righteousness, he is the king of Salem. And Salem carries within it a deeper meaning, a quiet echo that moves through Scripture like a soft, steady rhythm. Peace, shalom, not merely the absence of conflict, but the presence of wholeness, of completeness, of harmony restored. Breathe slowly now. Feel the gentleness of that word. Peace, not forced, not temporary, not fragile, but deep, steady, unshaken. And now, let these two truths come together: righteousness and peace. A king who embodies both. Pause here, because this is no small detail. In the world of men, peace is often sought without righteousness, and so it fades. Agreements are made, compromises are formed, but beneath them, tension remains, waiting, ready to rise again. And righteousness, when separated from peace, can become harsh, heavy, difficult to bear. But here, in this quiet figure, both are held together, perfectly, effortlessly. Righteousness that leads to peace, peace that flows from righteousness, a harmony, not imposed, but inherent. Breathe in, slowly, and as you exhale, imagine that kind of presence. A king before whom striving ceases, a ruler whose authority does not create fear, but invite rest. This is why his arrival feels so different. This is why Abraham does not resist. This is why the moment itself seems to slow, to soften, to shift. Because Melchizedek does not belong to the same order as the kings of the earth. He stands apart, not above in pride, but beyond in nature. And there is more still. He is not only a king. He is a priest of God Most High. Let that settle gently, because this is something the world around Abraham does not understand. Kings rule over men. Priests stand before God. These roles are separate, distinct, rarely joined. And yet, here they are, united in one person. A king who represents divine authority, and a priest who mediates divine presence. Breathe slowly now. Feel the quiet weight of that union. Authority and intercession. Power and surrender. Heaven and earth meeting in one place. Melchizedek stands not only as a ruler among men, but as a bridge, a living connection between what is seen and what is unseen. And this is why his blessing carries such depth. This is why his presence reshapes the moment, because he does not simply acknowledge Abraham's victory, he interprets it. He reveals its source. He draws the attention away from human strength and gently lifts it toward God Most High, the possessor of heaven and earth. Pause here. Let that truth settle softly. Everything Abraham has just experienced, every step, every decision, every outcome, yet was held within something greater. And Melchizedek, quietly, gently, reminds him of that. Breathe in, slowly, and as you exhale, feel the humility of that realization. Victory without pride. Strength without ownership. Action without self-glory. Because in the presence of true righteousness and true peace, there is no need to elevate oneself. There is only recognition, only stillness, only quiet understanding. And so Abraham stands, not as a conqueror, but as one who receives. And in that receiving, something shifts within him. Something deeper than the outcome of battle, something that touches the heart. Rest here for a moment. Feel the calm, the stillness, the quiet unfolding of truth. Because this king, this priest, this mysterious presence is not just revealing something about himself. He is revealing something about the nature of true authority, not built on force, not sustained by fear, but rooted in righteousness and flowing into peace. And as this realization settles, gently, deeply, the story continues to unfold, drawing us further, not into noise, but into understanding, not into tension, but into rest. Breathe slowly now. The moment lingers, quiet, steady, suspended between what has just happened and what is about to unfold. Abraham stands before this mysterious king, the weight of battle still resting faintly upon him, the memory of conflict not yet fully faded, and yet something deeper is now taking shape. Melchizedek has spoken. Not many words, not loud, not forceful, not forceful, but words that settle, like gentle rain on dry ground, sinking deeper than they first appear. Blessed be Abram, by God Most High, at him. Pause here. Let that blessing rest softly in your mind, because in this world, blessings are not casual. They are not empty phrases, not polite gestures, not words spoken without weight. A blessing carries authority. It carries recognition. It flows from one who stands in a place of spiritual clarity toward one who receives. And here, something remarkable is happening. Abraham, the man chosen by God, the bearer of promise, the one through whom nations will be blessed, is now the one being blessed by another. Breathe in, slowly. And as you exhale, feel the quiet reversal in that moment. The victor becomes the receiver. The strong becomes the one who listens. The central figure steps gently into a place of humility. This is not a loss. This is alignment. Because the blessing does not elevate Abraham above others, it draws him back into truth. And blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. Let those words settle. Delivered, not conquered by your strength, not secured by your strategy, not earned by your effort alone. Delivered, given, placed, gently, firmly, into your hands by something greater than you. Breathe slowly now. Feel the shift in understanding, because in this single moment, the meaning of everything that has just happened begins to change. What could have been remembered as a story of human courage, of unexpected victory, of rising power, is quietly transformed. It is no longer Abraham's triumph. It is God's provision. Melchizedek does not take away from what Abraham has done. He reveals what was always true beneath it, that even in action, even in courage, even in movement, God was present, guiding, sustaining, delivering. Pause here. Let that truth soften something within you. Because how often does the mind hold tightly to what it has achieved? How easily does the heart begin to believe, I have done this, and yet, gently, without accusation, without force, without force. This blessing reminds, you were not alone. You were never alone. Breathe in, slowly. And as you exhale, allow that realization to settle. Not as correction, but as peace. Because when the weight of everything does not rest on you, there is rest, there is release, there is freedom. Melchizedek continues, not with many words, but with presence. And in that presence, the atmosphere itself feels different. The tension of war dissolves completely. The urgency of survival fades, and in its place, something sacred emerges. This is no longer a battlefield. It is a moment of worship, a moment where victory becomes gratitude, where action becomes surrender, where the heart is gently turned back toward God. Breathe slowly now. Feel that shift within the story and within yourself. Because this blessing does more than speak over Abraham. It reorders him, not by force, but by truth. He stands again, not as one elevated above others, but as one held within something greater. And this is where the blessing becomes complete. Not in the words alone, but in what they awaken. A quiet recognition, a deep remembering that all things, all victories, all moments of strength flow from God Most High, the possessor of heaven and earth. Pause here. Let that title settle gently. Possessor of heaven and earth. Nothing outside his reach. Nothing beyond his care. Nothing accomplished apart from his presence. Breathe in, slowly. And as you exhale, feel the steadiness of that truth. There is no need to strive for control, no need to carry the burden of outcomes, no need to hold tightly to what has already been given, because the one who holds heaven and earth is also the one who holds you. Rest here for a moment. As Abraham stands in silence, receiving this blessing, something within him responds, not outwardly at first, not with words, but with understanding. A recognition deeper than thought, a humility that does not diminish him, but grounds him. He does not resist the blessing. He does not question it. He receives it fully. And in that receiving, he is changed, not outwardly, but inwardly, because true blessing does not always alter circumstances. It alters perspective. It shifts the heart, realigns the soul, and restores clarity where confusion once lived. Breathe slowly now. Let that settle, because this moment, though quiet, though brief, changes everything. It changes how the victory is seen. It changes how Abraham sees himself, and it prepares the way for what comes next. But for now, stay here, in the stillness of blessing, in the quiet presence of truth, in the gentle awareness that even in the greatest moments of strength, you are held, guided, and sustained by God Most High. Breathe slowly. Now, the blessing has been spoken, its meaning still settling gently into the quiet space between Abraham and this mysterious king. The noise of battle has faded completely, replaced by something softer, something deeper, something almost sacred in its stillness. And in that stillness, Melchizedek does something simple, something quiet, something that, at first glance, might seem ordinary. He brings out bread and wine. Pause here. Let that image rest gently in your mind. No weapons, no symbols of victory, no treasures taken from battle, only bread and wine. Breathe in, slowly. And as you exhale, feel how different this moment is from everything that came before it. Because after war, one might expect celebration filled with noise. After victory, one might expect honor, recognition, reward. But here, there is none of that. Instead, there is provision, gentle, quiet, intentional. Bread, the simplest of foods, yet one of the most essential. It sustains life, nourishes the body, restores strength after weariness. It is not extravagant, not overwhelming, but steady, faithful, enough. Wine, deeper in meaning, often associated with joy, with blessing, with fullness, not necessary for survival, but given as something more, something that speaks not only to need, but to abundance. Together, they form something more than a meal. They form a moment. Breathe slowly now, because in the world of Scripture, meals are rarely just meals. They are spaces of connection, of covenant, of presence, shared. To eat together is not simply to consume, but to participate, to enter into relationship, to acknowledge something deeper than words alone can express. And here, in this quiet exchange, Melchizedek is not merely feeding Abraham. He is receiving him, welcoming him. drawing him into a space that is no longer defined by war, but by peace. Pause here. Feel that transition from striving to stillness, from conflict to communion. Because bread and wine do not belong to the battlefield. They belong to the table, and the table is a place of rest. Breathe in, slowly. And as you exhale, imagine that table, simple, unadorned, yet filled with quiet meaning. The kind of place where voices soften, where the urgency of the world fades, where what matters most becomes clear without needing to be spoken. Melchizedek brings Abraham into that space, not as a warrior returning from battle, but as one who is seen, known, and gently restored. There is no rush here, no pressure, only presence. And as Abraham receives this offering, something within him begins to settle even more deeply. The tension that once filled his body, the readiness for action, the weight of responsibility, all begin to loosen. Because he is no longer in a moment of doing. He is in a moment of receiving. Breathe slowly. Now, let that truth settle gently. There are times to act, and there are times to rest, times to move forward, and times to simply receive what is given. And in this moment, Abraham does not need to fight, does not need to decide, does not need to prove anything. He simply receives the bread, the wine, the presence. Pause here, because there is something deeply healing in that kind of receiving. Not taking, not striving, not earning, but accepting what is freely offered. And as this quiet exchange continues, the meaning deepens. Because Melchizedek is not just any king. He is a priest, a mediator between God and man. This, who. So what he offers carries more than physical nourishment. It carries spiritual significance. Bread that sustains life. Wine that speaks of blessing and fullness. Together, they become a reflection, a quiet symbol of something greater. Something that reaches beyond this moment, beyond this meeting, beyond what Abraham can fully understand. Breathe in, slowly. And as you exhale, feel the mystery of it. Not something to solve, but something to rest within. Because not every meaning needs to be explained. Some are meant to be experienced, felt, gently, deeply, over time. And this moment is one of them. The bread is given, the wine is shared, and the silence that surrounds them is not empty, but full of peace, full of presence, full of a quiet connection between heaven and earth. Melchizedek does not explain. He does not elaborate. He simply offers, and in that offering, he reveals something essential. That true authority does not always speak loudly. True power does not always display itself. Sometimes it gives. Simply, quietly, freely. Breathe slowly. Now, let that settle into your heart, because there is a kind of peace that comes not from achieving, but from being nourished, from being seen, from being invited into rest. And Abraham, in this moment, experiences that peace. Not through battle, but through bread. Not through conquest, but through communion. Rest here for a moment. Feel the softness of that image, the stillness of the table, the quiet presence of this priest king, offering what is needed, without demand, without expectation. And as the moment continues, gently, naturally, it prepares the way for what comes next, because what Abraham does in response will reveal just how deeply he understands what has been given. Breathe slowly now. The quiet of that sacred moment still lingers, the offering of bread and wine, the blessing spoken with gentle authority, the stillness that has replaced the noise of battle. Nothing rushes here. Nothing demands attention. Everything unfolds, softly, as though time itself has slowed to make space for something deeper. And in that stillness, Abraham responds. Not with words, not with questions, but with action, simple, deliberate, and filled with meaning. He gives a tenth of everything. Pause here. Let that settle gently in your mind. A tenth, not a portion chosen at random, not a gesture made without thought, but something intentional, something deeply rooted in recognition. In the ancient world, this act is never casual. It is never insignificant. To give a tenth is to acknowledge something greater than yourself. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, feel the quiet weight of that moment, because Abraham, who has just returned from victory, who has overcome kings, who now stands in a place where many would claim honor, does something unexpected. He does not take more. He gives. He does not elevate himself. He lowers himself, gently, willingly, without hesitation. This is not loss. This is understanding, because in giving, Abraham is not surrendering wealth. He is expressing recognition of who stands before him, recognition of what has just happened, recognition of the source behind it all. Breathe slowly now. There is no record of him pausing to consider, no indication of uncertainty, no sign of resistance. His response flows naturally, as though something within him already knows, already understands, already sees what cannot be fully explained. He gives because he recognizes. And in that recognition, something profound is revealed. Pause here, because this act, quiet as it is, carries deep meaning. In a world shaped by power, where kings take and defend and accumulate, giving is not the natural response of the victorious. But Abraham is not responding as the world would. He is responding from a place of clarity, a place where victory does not belong solely to him, a place where blessing is not something to hold tightly, but something to acknowledge and honor. Breathe in slowly. And as you exhale, imagine that moment. The stillness of the land, the presence of Melchizedek, the quiet movement of Abraham's hands, offering what he has gained, freely, without hesitation. There is no negotiation, no expectation in return, only recognition. Because to give in this way is to say something without words. It is to say, "You are greater. This belongs to God. I did not accomplish this alone." Let that truth settle gently, because in this act, Abraham reveals something about his heart. He understands that the victory, the rescue, the restoration, all of it, flows from something beyond his own strength. And so, before he keeps anything for himself, before he considers what he has gained, he acknowledges the one who gave it. Through Melchizedek, the priest of God Most High. Breathe slowly now. Feel the humility in that moment, not forced, not heavy, but natural, like a quiet returning to balance. And there is something else, something subtle, yet deeply important. Because immediately after this moment, another king approaches, the king of Sodom, But his presence feels different. Where Melchizedek brought peace, this king brings transaction. Where Melchizedek offered blessing, this king speaks of exchange. Give me the people, and take the goods for yourself. Pause here. Feel the contrast. Two kings, two responses, two paths. One offers bread, wine, blessing. The other offers wealth, gain, possession. And Abraham, standing between them, chooses. He has already given to Melchizedek, and now he refuses, the king of Sodom. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, feel the clarity of that decision. Because Abraham will not allow his victory to be defined by earthly reward. He will not take from a source that could claim credit for what God has done. He will not allow his story, his blessing, his provision to be attributed to anything other than God Most High. I will take nothing. The words are simple but firm, lest you say, I have made Abram rich. Pause here. Let that settle. Because this is not just refusal, it is alignment. Alignment with truth. Alignment with faith. Alignment with the recognition that what matters most is not what is gained, but who is honored. Breathe slowly now. Abraham gives upward and refuses sideways. He honors righteousness and rejects corruption. He receives blessing and releases possession. And in doing so, he reveals something essential. That true understanding is not found in what we keep, but in what we recognize. Not in what we gain, but in what we acknowledge. Rest here for a moment. Feel the quiet strength of that posture, the calm clarity, the calm clarity, the absence of striving. Because Abraham, in this moment, is no longer defined by victory, or wealth, or status. He is defined by recognition. Recognition that God is the source. Recognition that Melchizedek stands in a place of divine authority. Recognition that all things flow from something greater. And in that recognition, there is peace. No need to grasp, no need to prove, no need to hold tightly. Only a quiet, steady understanding that what truly matters cannot be taken, cannot be earned, and cannot be lost. Breathe slowly now, and let that truth settle gently within you. As the story continues, as the mystery deepens, as the quiet presence of Melchizedek lingers just a little longer, before, once again, he disappears. Breathe slowly now. The moment begins to fade, not in noise, not in confusion, but in silence. The encounter that felt so full, so grounded, so quietly powerful, begins to withdraw, like a ripple settling back into still water. Melchizedek has spoken. He has blessed. He has given. He has received. And now he is gone. Pause here. There is no farewell, no explanation, no lingering presence. He does not remain to build a legacy, does not stay to guide, does not leave behind a trace that can be followed. Note, he enters the story, fully present, fully authoritative, and then disappears, just as suddenly as he came. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, feel the weight of that mystery. Because in a world where every important figure is introduced, explained, connected, Melchizedek stands alone. No father is named, no mother is mentioned, no lineage is traced. There is no beginning recorded, no origin, no story of how he came to be who he is. And just as striking, there is no ending, no record of his death, no passing of his role, no successor who follows after him. He simply appears, and then is no longer seen. Pause here. Let that silence settle gently, because in Scripture, this kind of silence is not accidental. It is intentional. Breathe slowly now. The world of Abraham is deeply concerned with beginnings. Generations are carefully named, fathers and sons recorded, identities rooted in ancestry. A person is known by where they come from, by the line they belong to, by the story that leads to their present. But Melchizedek is different. He stands outside of that pattern, not explained by the past, not defined by origin, not limited by what came before him. He is simply present, complete, whole, as though his authority does not come from history, but from something beyond it. Breathe in, slowly, and as you exhale, feel the quiet depth of that idea. Because when something is not anchored in a beginning, it begins to feel timeless. And when something is not concluded with an ending, it begins to feel enduring. Melchizedek, in the way he is revealed, carries that sense, not as a figure we can fully understand, but as one we are invited to sit with, to reflect on, to wonder about. Pause here, because the mystery is not meant to frustrate. It is meant to open something, to draw the mind away from needing every detail and into a deeper awareness that some truths are revealed not through explanation, but through presence. Breathe slowly now. Think of how the story holds him. No genealogy to trace, no birth to mark his beginning, no death to mark his end. And yet, his impact is undeniable. He blesses Abraham. He receives honor. He stands in authority. Everything about him feels real, grounded, and yet untouched by the limits that define everyone else. Let that settle gently, because what is being shown here is not just who Melchizedek was, but what he represents. A priesthood not based on ancestry, an authority not dependent on succession, a presence that does not fade with time. Breathe in, slowly, and as you exhale, feel the quiet expansion of that idea. A role that is not passed down, a position that does not end, a connection to God that is not interrupted. This is something entirely different from what the world knows, and that difference is the point. Pause here, because when we encounter something that cannot be easily explained, the natural response is to try to define it, to categorize it, to resolve the uncertainty. But here, the invitation is different. The invitation is to rest in it, to allow the mystery to remain, to let it breathe, to let it speak in its own quiet way. Breathe slowly now. Melchizedek does not need a recorded beginning, because his significance is not rooted in where he came from. He does not need a recorded end, because his meaning is not confined to when he leaves. He stands as a glimpse of something that exists beyond the ordinary flow of time, beyond the structure of human life, beyond the boundaries of birth and death. And in that glimpse, something begins to take shape. Something that will only be fully understood later, but is already present here, quietly, gently, waiting to me, to me, to me, to me, to me, to me, to me. Rest here for a moment. Feel the calm of not needing to resolve everything, the peace of allowing mystery to remain, the stillness of simply observing without striving to explain, because there is a kind of wisdom that does not come from knowing more, but from trusting deeper. Breathe in, slowly, and as you exhale, let go of the need to define, the need to fully understand, the need to hold every answer. You are allowed to simply rest in what is revealed and what is not, because even in the silence, even in what is left unsaid, there is meaning, there is purpose, there is design. Melchizedek appears without beginning. He departs without end. And in that, he leaves behind something far greater than a complete story. He leaves behind a mystery that continues quietly, endlessly, echoing beyond the moment, beyond the page, beyond time itself. Breathe slowly now and rest in that gentle, sacred, unknown. Breathe slowly now. The silence surrounding Melchizedek lingers, soft, unbroken, like a still lake beneath the night sky. He has appeared, he has acted, and he has vanished, leaving behind no clear path to follow, no story to trace, no answers that fully satisfy the mind. And so, a question begins to rise. Gently, naturally. Who was he? Pause. Here. Let that question rest, without urgency, without pressure to resolve it too quickly. Because this is not a question that demands a quick answer. It is one that has echoed quietly through centuries, inviting reflection, inviting wonder, inviting stillness. Breathe in, slowly, and as you exhale, feel the openness of not knowing. Because over time, thoughtful voices have considered this mystery, not to force certainty, but to explore what might be seen through the quiet hints left behind. And from that reflection, 3 possibilities begin to emerge, each one offering a different way of seeing, a different way of understanding, yet none fully closing the mystery. Let them come, gently, one by one. The first is the simplest, that Melchizedek was a man, a real king in a real place, living in a world filled with conflict, and yet set apart, a ruler of Salem, a priest of the Most High God, preserved in righteousness while surrounded by darkness, a man who knew God, even when others did not, who served faithfully, quietly, without needing recognition. In this view, his mystery is not in what he was, but in how he is presented. The silence around his life, the absence of his lineage, becomes not a denial of his humanity, but a shaping of his story, so that what he represents can be seen more clearly. Breathe slowly now. Feel the steadiness of that possibility. A reminder that even in the most broken places, God can preserve truth, can raise up those who walk in quiet faith, unseen, yet deeply known. And yet, as the question lingers, another possibility, gently, rises. What if he was someone Abraham already knew, though not by this name? Some have wondered, quietly, thoughtfully, whether Melchizedek could have been Shem, the son of Noah. A man who lived through the flood, who carried forward the knowledge of God into a new world, whose life stretched across generations, long enough to overlap with Abraham's own time. In this view, the mystery becomes a hidden connection, a meeting between generations, a moment where the past reaches forward to bless the future. A righteous man, ancient, enduring, standing before Abraham, not as a stranger, but as one whose life had already been shaped by God's faithfulness. Pause. Here. Let that idea rest gently. A continuity. A quiet thread. Weaving through time. Connecting what was with what will be. And yet, even this does not fully settle the mystery. Because there is still something about Melchizedek, something in the way he appears, the way he is described, the way he is remembered, that feels different. And so, a third possibility emerges. Not with certainty, but with wonder. And what if he was more? Not merely a king, not only a priest, but a glimpse of something beyond ordinary human life. Some have quietly considered whether Melchizedek might have been a manifestation, a presence sent by God, appearing in human form for a moment, to reveal something deeper, something eternal, not fully explained, not fully defined, not fully defined, not fully, but carrying within him a reflection of something greater still to come. Pause here. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, feel the depth of that mystery, not as something to grasp, but something to sit with, because even here, even in this possibility, the language of Scripture remains careful, gentle, leaving space rather than closing it. Melchizedek is described not as the fulfillment, but as a resemblance, a reflection, a shadow of something greater. And that matters, because it reminds us he is not the final answer. He is a sign, a glimpse, a quiet preparation for something still ahead. Breathe slowly now, and as these possibilities settle, notice something important. None of them fully explain him. None remove the mystery. None close the question completely. And perhaps that is exactly as it is meant to be. Because the purpose of Melchizedek is not to satisfy curiosity. It is to awaken something deeper, to draw the heart beyond the need for certainty and into a place of trust, a place where not everything is explained, and yet everything is held. Rest here for a moment. Feel the calm of that truth, that not knowing is not the same as being lost. That mystery is not the absence of meaning, but often the presence of something too vast to be fully contained. Breathe in, slowly, and as you exhale, allow the question to remain, gently, quietly. Who was he? Not as something to solve, but as something that continues, softly, faithfully, pointing beyond itself, towards something greater, still unfolding, still waiting, still drawing near. Breathe slowly now. The silence returns, gentle, unbroken, stretching across time like a quiet horizon beneath the night sky. Melchizedek has come and gone, leaving behind no lineage, no record, no continuation that can be traced by human hands. And for a long while, nothing more is said. Generations pass. The world continues to turn, slowly, steadily, carrying with it the stories of men and nations. Abraham's journey unfolds. His descendants grow. Promises begin to take shape. Time moves forward, like a river that does not pause, does not look back. And still, Melchizedek is not mentioned. Pause here. Feel the weight of that silence, because sometimes what is not spoken carries as much meaning as what is. A name once introduced with such quiet authority now rests, untouched, as though waiting, as though held for a moment, not yet ready to arrive. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, allow the passage of time to settle gently. Years become generations. Generations become centuries. Kings rise. Kingdoms fall. Nations form. And the people of God begin to understand their place in the world. The law is given. The priesthood is established. Order begins to take shape. And in that order, roles are defined. Kings rule over the people. Priests stand before God, separate, distinct, each with its place, each with its purpose. And yet, beneath that structure, something remains incomplete. A quiet longing, unspoken, unresolved. Breathe slowly now, because the world continues, but the memory of Melchizedek, though distant, has not been erased. It rests quietly, like a seed beneath the soil, waiting for the right moment to rise again. And then, after many years, after the passing of time, after the silence has settled deeply, his name returns, not in history, not in narrative, but in prophecy, through the voice of a king, David. Pause here. Feel the shift. Because David is not simply a ruler. He is a man who listens, who receives, who speaks words that reach beyond his own understanding. And in one of those moments, something unexpected happens. He speaks of a future, of one who is to come, and within that vision, he speaks a name that has long been silent. You are a priest forever. After the order of Melchizedek, breathe in, slowly, and as you exhale, feel the depth of those words. Because this is not a casual reference, it is not a passing mention. It is a declaration, a promise, a revelation that reaches back into the mystery and brings it forward into something yet to be fulfilled. Pause here. Let that settle gently. A priest forever, not temporary, not passing, not replaced by another, forever, and not according to the order that has been established, not through the lineage that has been defined, but according to Melchizedek, the one without beginning, the one without end, the one whose priesthood stood outside the system, beyond the structure, untouched by succession. Breathe slowly now. Feel the quiet wonder of that moment. Because David is speaking into a world where everything is ordered, everything is categorized, everything follows a pattern, and yet, here, he introduces something different, something older, something deeper, something that does not fit within what has been built. A priesthood that does not come from ancestry, a role that does not end with death, a presence that remains daily. Pause here, because this changes everything. The silence of Melchizedek was never absence. It was preparation. The mystery was never empty. It was intentional. Breathe in, slowly, and as you exhale, feel the unfolding of that truth. That what once seemed like a brief encounter, a moment easily passed over, was in fact a foundation, a pattern, a glimpse of something far greater. David does not explain it. He does not expand on it. He simply speaks it as it is given to him, and in doing so, he reawakens the mystery, not to solve it, but to deepen it, to point forward, to prepare the heart for something still to come. Rest here for a moment. Feel the stillness of that prophecy, the quiet certainty, the gentle unfolding of a promise that stretches beyond time. Because this is not just about Melchizedek anymore. It is about someone who will come. Someone who will carry both kingship and priesthood. Not separately, but together. Someone whose authority will not fade, whose presence will not end, whose role will not pass to another. A priest forever. Breathe slowly now. Let that settle deeply, because what began as a mystery has now become a sign pointing forward, beyond Abraham, beyond David, beyond the structures of the world, toward something eternal. And as the night continues, as your breath remains steady, as your body rests in quiet stillness, the story gently moves closer to its fulfillment. But for now, simply rest in the promise, in the quiet certainty that what was once hidden is slowly, gently being revealed. Breathe slowly now. The promise lingers, soft, steady, like a quiet light, held gently in the darkness. The words spoken long ago, carried through generations, have not faded. They remain, waiting, unfolding, moving toward a moment that was always meant to come. A priest forever. After the order of Melchizedek, pause here. Let that promise rest within you, because now the story begins to draw closer, not to something distant, not to something hidden, but to someone. Someone who enters the world not with the noise of armies, not with the power of earthly kings, but in quiet, in humility, in stillness. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, feel the gentle shift from shadow to substance, from pattern to fulfillment, because the one David spoke of, the one the mystery pointed toward, Lect, has come. Jesus. Pause here. Let that name settle softly, not rushed, not spoken with urgency, but received with calm, with peace, with quiet recognition. Because in him, everything begins to come together. The longing, the mystery, the unanswered questions, all begin to find their place. Breathe slowly now. Jesus is known as King, the promised Son of David, the one who carries authority, who brings a kingdom not built on force, but on truth, on righteousness, on peace. And yet, he is also something more. He is priest, not by the lineage of Levi, not through the structure of the law, but through something deeper, something older, something already revealed in shadow. The order of Melchizedek. Pause here. Feel the quiet wonder of that connection, because just as Melchizedek stood as both king and priest, so now Jesus stands fully, perfectly, completely, a king who rules in righteousness, a priest who draws near with compassion, not divided, not separated, but united in one. Breathe in slowly, be, and as you exhale, feel the harmony of that truth, authority and mercy, power and presence, justice and grace, all held together, without conflict, without tension. This is not something the world could create. It is something only God could reveal. Pause here, because where Melchizedek appeared briefly, Jesus remains. Where Melchizedek's beginning was not recorded, Jesus is eternal. Where Melchizedek's end was not written, Jesus lives forever. Breathe slowly now. Let that truth settle deeply. This is not a priesthood that passes from one to another. not one that ends with time, not one that fades with age. This is a priesthood that continues, unchanging, unbroken. Because Jesus does not merely resemble that pattern, he fulfills it completely. Rest here for a moment. Feel the steadiness of that reality, because this means something profound. It means that there is no gap, no interruption, no distance between you and God's presence. Number 1. Confessions of life and of them. There is no need for another mediator, no need for repetition, no need for striving to reach what has already been given. Breathe in, slowly, be. And as you exhale, feel the peace of that, because Jesus stands, always, interceding, welcoming, holding the space between heaven and earth. Open, just as Melchizedek once stood before Abraham, offering blessing, offering peace. So now, in a greater way, Jesus stands for you. Pause here. Let that become personal. Gently, without force. Not as a concept, but as a presence. Because this is not only a fulfillment of prophecy, it is an invitation to rest, to receive, to draw near without fear. Breathe slowly now and think of that moment, long ago, when Melchizedek brought bread and wine. Simple, quiet, sacred. And now, Jesus takes bread and wine and gives them new meaning, deeper meaning. A reflection, not just of provision, but of himself, his presence, his sacrifice, his love. Pause here. Let that connection settle softly. Because what was once a symbol has become reality. What was once a shadow has become substance. Breathe in, slowly, be. And as you exhale, feel the completeness of it. Nothing missing, nothing unfinished, nothing left uncertain. The mystery has led here, not to confusion, but to clarity, not to distance, but to nearness. Jesus, the eternal priest, the King of righteousness, the bringer of peace, the one who fulfills what was hinted, what was hidden, what was quietly placed into the story long ago. Rest here for a moment. Let your mind grow still, your heart soften, your breath remain steady, because this is not something you need to fully understand. It is something you are invited to rest in. Breathe slowly now, and as you continue to drift gently into calm, be, must, be, 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 be. Be. Let this truth remain with you, that the same presence, the same peace, the same quiet authority that once stood before Abraham now stands for you, unchanging, unfailing, forever. Breathe slowly now. The story has unfolded gently, piece by piece, like a quiet path through the night. A mysterious king, a silent priest, a blessing, a meal, a moment that seemed small, yet carried something far greater than it first appeared. And now, as everything begins to settle, a question rises, soft but important. Why does this still matter? Pause here. Let that question rest, without urgency, without pressure. Well, 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 well. And because at first, it may seem distant, like something from another time, another world, far removed from the quiet space you are in now. A figure from long ago. A mystery wrapped in silence. A story that feels complete, and yet, somehow, unfinished. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, feel the gentle invitation to look again, not with effort, but with openness, because this mystery was never meant to stay in the past. It was meant to shape how we see what is present. Breathe slowly now. The first thing it reveals, quietly, deeply, is who Jesus truly is. Not only a teacher, not only a guide, not only a king, but a priest, a living bridge between heaven and earth. Pause here, because this matters more than it first appears. A king may lead, a teacher may instruct, but a priest draws near. A priest stands in the space between, not distant, not unreachable, but present, attentive, aware. And if Jesus is that priest, forever, then there is never a moment when you are unseen, never a moment when you are unheard, never a moment when you stand alone. Breathe in, slowly. And as you exhale, let that truth settle. You are not navigating this life by yourself. There is one who remains, who listens, who intercedes, who does not grow tired, who does not step away. Rest here for a moment, because the mystery of Melchizedek quietly expands that understanding. It shows that this was not an afterthought, not something added later, not a sudden solution. It was always part of the design, from the very beginning, before systems were built, before roles were defined, before laws were written. There was already a pattern, a priesthood that would not end. Breathe slowly now, and that leads to something even deeper. The story of Scripture is not scattered. It is not disconnected. It is not random. It is one continuous unfolding that just W, 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 add, W, add, W, 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 add, W, add. A quiet thread, woven carefully across time. Do. From Abraham to David to Christ, every moment connected, every detail intentional. Pause here. Let that bring a sense of calm, because it means nothing is out of place, nothing is accidental, nothing is forgotten. The same God who shaped that story is the one who holds yours. Breathe in slowly. And as you exhale, feel the steadiness of that truth. You are part of something, not chaotic, not uncertain, but guided. Even when you cannot see the full picture, even when parts remain unclear, even when questions remain unanswered, there is still a pattern. There is still a purpose. Rest here for a moment, because the mystery also teaches something gentle, yet powerful. That not everything needs to be explained, to be trusted. Melchizedek was never fully defined. His story was never completed, and yet his meaning was perfectly clear. Pause here. Feel the peace in that. Because in life, there are moments that feel incomplete. Questions that remain open. Paths that are not fully revealed. And the mind may search. The heart may wonder. But this story reminds that God does not always reveal everything at once. Sometimes He reveals just enough. Enough to trust. Enough to continue. Enough to rest. Breathe slowly now. And as you exhale, allow yourself to release the need to know everything, to solve everything, to understand every step before it happens. You are allowed to walk gently forward, held even in mystery. And there is one more truth quietly resting within this story. A truth that brings deep assurance, because if Jesus is a priest, after this eternal order, then His presence does not fade. His care does not weaken. His role does not pass to another. Pause here. Let that settle deeply. There is no moment when He is no longer there. No season where you must find another way. No distance that separates you from His reach. Breathe in slowly. And as you exhale, feel the peace of that. Steady, unchanging, faithful. This is why the mystery matters. Not to confuse, but to reveal. Not to complicate, but to deepen. Not to distance, but to draw near. Rest here for a moment. Let your body remain still, your breath soft, your mind quiet. Because what once seemed like a hidden story has now become a quiet assurance that you are held, guided, and never alone. Breathe slowly now. And as the night continues, as your thoughts grow softer, as your body drifts deeper into rest, let this truth remain with you. Gentle, steady, unshaken. That even in mystery, there is peace. Breathe slowly now. The story has come to rest, gently, like the final ripple, fading across still water. What once unfolded with mystery, with quiet wonder, with moments both seen and unseen, now settles softly into a place of peace. Melchizedek has appeared and disappeared. Abraham has received and responded. And through it all, something deeper has been revealed. Not loudly, not completely, but clearly enough for the heart to understand. Pause here. Let that stillness remain. Because this is not an ending filled with noise, not a conclusion that demands attention, but a gentle closing, a quiet invitation to rest. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, feel your body once again resting where you are, supported, calm, safe. There is nothing more you need to figure out, nothing more you need to carry, only this quiet awareness that even in mystery, even in what is not fully explained, there is peace. God is watching over you in the silence, in the stillness, in the gentle rhythm of your breathing. You are safe. You are held. You are not alone. Rest here for a moment. Let your thoughts drift further away, like distant echoes fading into the night, no longer asking for your attention, no longer needing your response. And as your body grows heavier, more relaxed, allow your mind to follow, gently, naturally, without effort. Do. Breathe slowly now. Heavenly Father, in this quiet moment, we come before you, not with striving, not with noise, but with open hearts, ready to rest in your presence. Thank you for the peace you give, for the way you guide, even when we do not see the full path, for the way you remain, steady, unchanging, always near. As this night deepens, we place every worry, every thought, every unanswered question into your hands. Day, you are the possessor of heaven and earth, the one who holds all things together, the one who watches over us, even as we sleep. Let your peace settle over us now, like a gentle covering, soft, warm, unshaken. Calm every restless thought, ease every tension, and draw us into deep, restoring rest. Breathe slowly now. May your heart grow quiet. May your body find complete stillness. And may your mind drift gently into sleep. May you rest in Christ always. Let us return once more to this peaceful story, not with effort, but with ease, allowing its calm to carry you deeper and deeper into rest, and there is nothing more to do, only to sleep. In Jesus' loving name, Amen.